So welcome to EIPIP meeting 43. I'm going to share agenda in the chat here. The first item on the agenda listed here is rename review period end to last call end or last call deadline. So this has been reported by AXIC. I have added the issue for reference. Generally, it makes sense like now that we have review as a status, not as just the last call review period. We try to add the end review period for the last call, not for the status review. But yeah, looking for general opinion so that it can be used as a standard field from here on.
Fine with me.
Yeah, fine with the change.
So there are two options. Which one is preferred here?
So I would have it be like last call review period, or he had a better name for that, but basically just change the name to better signify what we actually mean by it.
Right. So the two options are. Yeah, please go ahead.
I have a very, very weak preference for last call end, but I don't actually care between the two options.
Yeah, I will.
All right. So maybe closer to the earlier nomenclature, like it was review period end. So maybe we can take it for last call end or the, yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So this might need to be added in like template, EIP template and EIP1. And obviously we will add the general consensus here to that issue. So that issue can be closed.
Cool.
Quick. So the next one is discuss qualification for being on active editors list. So there are multiple agenda items suggested by Micah to be added on the call today, and this is the first one. So we have listed some of the qualification, I suppose, back in February when we were trying to document what it takes to become an EIP editor. That was just for inviting more participation from the community. But it looks like it's time to revisit and maybe to update that EIP one. So over to you, Micah, for your suggestions or comment for this topic.
So the reason this came up was the editors list up until very recently included a large number of people that didn't actually do any editing. I think some of them were there just included just because when the EIP process was created, they happened to be around, and those people aren't even around anymore. Some of them were active editors for a while, but are no longer active editors. Some of them are people that helped put the EIP process together, but haven't done active editing. And so the idea is that if we're gonna have a list of editors, it feels like the primary purpose should be to serve users. And when users go looking for editors, they should find a list of people that are actually editors, like people who are actually actively involved in the process and they can talk to and get feedback from. And also importantly, names they should look out for on their PRs. So like, here's the people who, you know, have some like if you get a PR review from random person, which we actually get quite a few spam PR reviews, you can ignore it, but if you get a PR review from an editor, that kind of holds a little bit more weight. So the idea is to have that list be, include all the people who are actively editing, but at the same time, not be too long, because if it gets too long, then it turns into a list of 100 people, and that's not a useful list. And so we want it to be concise and accurate. And also, by keeping the list short, it makes it more obvious that we are understaffed. Like when there's 10 editors in a list, it looks like we got plenty of people, we don't need help. When there's 3 editors in the list, it's more obvious that we very much need help. So the question then is what is the process for removing people from that list? And I'm going to try to provide, since Greg's not here, I'm going to try to provide his arguments. We've been discussing this a little bit. I'm probably not the best person because I'm against him on this, but I'll do my best to represent him. I think what his belief is that anyone who is interested in being an editor, continuing to be an editor and continuing to be on that list, should be allowed to remain on that list. And I think the idea is is that these are people that have expressed an interest, and even if they don't have time right now, they have good intentions, and maybe they do help out here and there. Like maybe someone sends them a DM or something or mentions them. They will show up and help, but they're not actively editing. And so the question just comes down to, do people get, once you're an editor, always an editor, or once you're an editor, you can lose that status, or more importantly, lose like that slot on the list at some point?
Yeah. It's almost like you want a part-time. You have like full-time, part-time, and like, previous.
Yeah, like I said, my goal with the
yeah.
list is primarily for users, and I feel like the more complicated the list is, the harder it is for users to make actual use of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's actually a good, because all the editors are kind of part-time by definition, right? Like,
I don't think anyone works 40 hours a week on EIPs.
So not sure how to phrase this better. It's not going to be well phrased, but like, is this like a process problem or like a people problem? Because I suspect, I don't know, I've talked with Vitalik, and I like explained to him, and he was kind of fine being taken off the list. The active editor list right now would be basically Micah, Light Client, and maybe Axic. Is that right?
Yeah, like if we sorted those, that would be the right order as well, I think, in terms of.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then, so it's like, if we're sorting, it's like Micah, Light Client, Axic, and then Greg, kind of, who's like worked on some of his EIPs, but I don't think he's like worked on, like he's helped edit any EIPs that were not his. Is that correct? Like in the, say, like last year or whatever, like recent past.
I do not remember his name coming up on as an editor, like helping people. He has indicated to me that he has helped people out with EIP authoring in the past. I don't have much more context than that. He has not had an active role in like reviewing EIPs and approving them and pushing them through the process. That piece. At least nothing visible, I could say.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you that like there's a lot of value in signaling who are the actual editors, and maybe like a very loose threshold for that is like, they've like commented on like at least one EIP in the past 2 months or something. Like we probably want like to be somewhat lax with like what the threshold is, but like, I do think there's value in having like a clear delineation of like, these are EIP editors. Like these are people that you can ping and expect a response on your EIP PR within a week, right? Like maybe that should actually be kind of you kind of flip it and say, what should the user reasonably expect, right? Like, and it's not necessarily a guarantee that it happens every time, but like, if I were submitting an EIP and I'd look at that list, I'd kind of hope that if I ping, somebody on that list, they would get back to me sometime during that week.
I think right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like a very reasonable qualification is to attend the EIPIP meeting every couple months, just so that there's like a synchronous moment to just talk to each other.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying come to every meeting, but at like least one every 8 weeks or 12 weeks or something. That way there's some sort of cadence of talking to that person in a synchronous manner.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like, can they be pinged on GitHub, and can they be expected to show up once a quarter to one of these meetings? That seems like a very low bar. And that's also something we can ask Greg, right? Like, do you want to be pinged by random people on their EIPs and to have like a soft expectation that like you'll deal with these pings? And do you want to
currently all the editors are pinged by the bot every time EIP is put up for review. So we are getting pinged. We know we're getting pinged. He's getting pinged, and he's not showing up. Neither was any of the other people that were removed from the list.
Right.
Same thing. I think Alex also rarely shows up to the pings. I think he has them ignored.
I mean, it's a
Well,
little
he just
bit
commented
like
on mine.
The Boy Who
Yeah,
Cried
so-
Wolf, though, because it's like everything is a pain.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do feel, I don't know, my perspective as like somebody who's like loosely involved to this from the outside is like Alex he's not like as involved as the two of you, obviously, but like he is somewhat involved. He just commented on my PR, and I think like he does show up when like there's important discussions. So I think he would fit this loose, you know. And I suspect if we asked him to come to one of these meetings per quarter or something, he would.
Sure.
Especially if there was a reason for him to be here, like rather than just like checking that he actually showed up. But yeah.
Yeah, I think having like this kind of synchronous meetings definitely add value to whatever is being done asynchronously. And meeting once a quarter is like the lowest minimum bar that we can say. But yeah, I mean, if not visiting here regularly, not bi-weekly, at least getting some comments on other pull requests makes sense. And that's not been observed in case of Greg. I mean, I didn't remember anything, definitely in the past 1 year, I can say. I was looking into that, and then exec, he showed up and he responds to that. So
Yeah. So what's the next step? Greg is already removed from the list.
no,
is
he
right?
is still there.
Okay.
Like, there
But
are
he
the
doesn't
4
have
people.
like merge access to the. There was something he was complaining about being removed from something.
Yeah, so there's two separate issues. One is who's classified as editors, and two is who has write access to the repo.
Got it.
I believe the ops team was doing. I don't know, but I'm guessing the ops team was just doing general cleanup and removing people who. That's what you're supposed to do, as good security practice. You clean up people who don't need access anymore. And I think they just cleaned up a bunch of people, and that included Greg. Again, I'm guessing, speculating here, but if I was a security ops team, that's exactly what I would do. So two separate issues. One can be an editor and not have write access to repo. You don't need write access to be an editor. That's
Like
not a
me.
prerequisite at all. Yeah, like Matt for the longest time.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think I have write access anymore. I think I realized this yesterday while we were doing this like EIP editing session, and I was like, wow, I am just out here LARPing as an editor. I can't even write to this fucking repo.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I mean, I think again to Jamie for this, for getting the access. I don't know, admin or write or whatever is needed, but I'm waiting for his response. Maybe Tim, if you can give him a little nudge and get this thing through, would be helpful, because
Sure,
there is a
so
pull
like-
request. Yeah, that's stuck because we do not have. It's requested by Micah, and now we need another editor to merge it because it cannot be like merged by the
Okay.
bot.
Okay, let me see if I can do something about this. Yeah. So like clients, you basically need to be have write access to the EIP's repo. That would fix things, right?
It would be great to have admin access so I can override the bot in these
okay.
small scenarios.
You need admin access for that?
I think so. I don't know if it's write or admin, but
I thought
I've never
just
been
write
able to-
access gave you that.
oh, okay. I've never been able to
But
override the bot. And I just
Okay,
assumed
I
I
could-
had write access, so maybe I've been confused.
Well, let me look.
Does your GitHub handle have an S at the end, Matt?
No, just light client.
No, you're
Okay.
you're right. Sorry. You do have write access. You do not have admin access. I thought write access
okay.
gave you.
I do have write
Override.
access. All right.
Yeah. Apparently, I can make you an admin.
Excellent.
Then just do it.
I mean, I have tried to avoid this because it's not like I don't want to overstep my bounds. Like if maybe there's a reason that the operations team has not given Matt.
I
Right
mean,
access.
otherwise,
Like, they
what I'm
know-
going to do right now, I'm going to log a ticket in the DevOps EF team's backlog that says add light client as an admin. They'll probably ping me and ask me, why do you think light client should be an admin? I'll tell them that I think he's a very, active contributor to the EIPS repo, and it's blocking things that he's not an admin. So
Then they'll tell you, well, we did a background check on Light Client, and we'd really rather not give him
That is
admin access.
pretty sketchy.
Pretty
All
sketchy.
bad projects.
Yeah, I think you can just add him, Micah. Yeah.
Hang on,
Go for it.
I'm now doing a background check on Light Client real quick here.
So Tim, just for reference,
Uh,
I'm sharing a pull request number 4390 here. So this has been stuck because, I mean, we were looking into proposals yesterday, proposals and pull requests yesterday in the EIP editors meeting. And we found that because this is done by Micah, it needs to be merged by Light Client, and he cannot do that with the
Cool.
access.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
yeah.
someone needs a
Yeah.
reference, this could be a reference why he needs access.
It's fine.
Reach the race condition of the EIPS repository.
Yeah, I'm fine taking any backlash that comes from adding Matt as an EIP admin.
God, hopefully there isn't any backlash.
I think I'd rather wait for the ops team because I'm seeing some Ruby in his code history, and that just makes me really uncomfortable.
Wow. And you've run a scan on his wallet address, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he said some things on social media that I think
Shiba whale.
Shiba whale, and he said some things on social media.
In the EOS ICO.
That's right. I think we should make sure we let the security team do their job before I add anybody.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah. Okay, so let's add Matt and yeah.
Yeah, and coming back to just to have a summary of it, so the note taker can actually document this, and we can refer it whenever it is required for what it takes to be an active, to be in the list of active editors list. If someone can summarize it for us.
Be Micah, Matt, or Alex.
Right. So I guess what I understood is you expect the person to respond to pings from the bot at a reasonable, with a reasonable delay, and to show up to these meetings, say once a quarter.
I think. Sorry, good.
No, that's it.
I think to clarify a little more while also remaining vague, I'm not a huge fan of like really strict like rules, because then you end up with people rules lawyering. Like, oh, I posted my one comment, I get to keep my access. I would say that you are actively responding to random like people looking for editorial support on the EIP's repo at some regular interval that is, on the order of months. So not just like, I review my friends' PRs. Like we have had editors in the past who have, they show up, but they only show up and edit, PRs by their friends or by them. And we really want editors to be people that are helping everybody. This is part of my soapbox that I'll get to later on the agenda. But I don't like the idea of giving special treatment to prominent figures within the community. So like when Vitalik opens a PR, he's got like 4 editors jumping on to review it. Because the problem there is it means every time Vitalik doesn't think there's a problem. Like Vitalik thinks that the EIP process is working fine, because for him, it always works fine. And you see this in really corrupt governments where like some government official will go through a process and they're like, yeah, everything's fine. But like regular people, it sucks. Like it's horrible. The reason it's fine for those other people is because they get special treatment. And so I really want to avoid giving special treatment. And so that's why I want to specify that if you're an editor, that means you're editing for everybody. You're helping all the people who want to participate in this EIP process. You're not just helping, a couple of friends that will, vote for you when it comes time to vote for who the editors are or whatever it is.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. All right. Do we think that this is something that needs to be maybe added somewhere, even in EIP1? I mean, I already maintain something separate in a HackMD file where we are trying to add all the corner cases or special instructions that cannot be added to EIP1. But is it worth adding to EIP1? That would be helpful for people.
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because I think that it's best if we try to keep EIP1 focused on what users need to do to create EIPs and not distracted by like the behind the scenes bureaucracy of the editorial process.
Yeah, that makes sense. At least we have it somewhere documented. Wherever needed, we can point it to the right place. Sounds good. So I think we can now move on to the next item, unless anyone has any final comment on this particular
Nope.
topic. Okay, so while we are discussing this, I would like to skip the number 3 and come to number 4 because both are relevant. Agree on who gets mentioned in the EIPs. So Micah has created this pull request to like who should get mentioned, and that, I mean, at least that should be based on the present EIP editors list. I don't know why this is stopped. Anyone has any?
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring it up with people before we merge that. Currently, it's Light Client and Alex get mentioned for everything, and Micah gets mentioned for core. Is everyone okay with that? No one's got opposition or wants something different?
Yeah, it
Okay.
sounds fair
Nice.
because you have been vocal about it that you want to review only core proposals, so it sounds fair, and rest of the 2 editors who are there maybe get pinged for every sort of proposal.
Yeah, and I'm okay with people removing themselves. Like if Matt decides he doesn't want to get pinged for core, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, so this needs to be merged. I see that this has been approved by all the editors. So Bot can do that, or any of you can do that?
Nice one. I was just waiting for agreement is all.
All right. Okay. Sounds fair. Moving on to the next item, it's discuss registry EIPs to what to call them. This issue is created by Nick Johnson. I see some discussion between Micah and Nick, so I'll let Micah explain to this.
So the TLDR is, it'd be nice if there's a way to have lists of things in the standard repo. So like when you create a standard for a thing, you could then have a list. A great example is transaction types, right? We've got 3 transaction types now, going on 4 or 5 in the pipe. And it'd be nice if there's a place that we can record all these numbers in one place, so a list. The problem with the traditional EIPs is that they are immutable, which means you cannot change them once they are final. And so following the normal process, you would not be able to actually maintain this list. After some discussion and thinking with Nick, my recommendation, and it sounds like his as well, is to have some new type of standard or file or whatever that's maybe in this repository, maybe in another. I think he's lobbies for another, and I'm fine with that, where it is append only, and the author of the registry, it's up to them to include very clear instructions as to what is necessary to get included in the list. And the idea behind this is we want to maintain censorship resistance within our process as much as possible. And so we don't want it to just be like, oh, Bob runs this list, and then when Bob disappears, the list doesn't get maintained, or we have fights over who gets rights to access. So the idea is someone can draft a new registry, and as part of that process, they would say anyone can get added to this as long as they meet these requirements. Like if you achieve this, and this, then you can get added, and then the EIP editors or registry editors would do the job of just making sure that when someone submits a PR to add themselves to a list, they'd include an argument for why they meet the requirements. And then they would say, yep, you check all those boxes, so we will add your line to the list. Like, yep, you check all the boxes for having a new transaction type, so we'll add you to the new transaction type list.
Any thoughts and comments, Lightline, Tim?
No strong opinions.
I see light client unmuted, but unfortunately we are not able to hear anything from his end. At least I'm not able to
I'm
hear.
just on my phone, so I'm just
Oh.
not muting.
Okay, okay, no problem.
Sounds like a good idea, though.
Okay, I'll take that to mean that Matt would like to head up this project and be a maintainer.
God damn it! I didn't say anything.
Done.
So anything from like the editor's sides need to be done, or is it something that that can be suggested to Nick Johnson and we can pursue?
Thing is, we need someone who wants to actually like shepherd this process. I think until we have that, we can't really move forward at all. Like we need someone who's interested enough and willing to put in the time to be like the first editor or equivalent. I don't know if that's Nick. Nick might have created the issue because he specifically is hoping someone else will take up the torch. That is not me. I do not have the time.
Okay, in that case, maybe we can spread the news and we'll see if we can find someone to actually champion this idea or convert it into a proposal and then come back to submit a proposal, formal proposal for that. All right. So, I mean, if this sounds reasonable, we can probably move on to the next issue and let's keep that issue open for some time, and so we can refer people to a particular issue and see if they are willing to champion this idea. Moving on to the next item listed today is EIP file name error problem for new submission. So this issue is created by submitted by an author, an EIP author who probably is documenting the proposal for the first time and is looking for some help. I'm not sure. This is for Alita, maybe to.
I believe that was just a bug report, and so it's filed away. Alita will hopefully handle it at some point.
All right. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Then we can skip this item. The next item is EIP Insight. So we have shared this report for October. 122 EIPs have been moved to stagnant. 5 new proposals were added as draft, and 2 EIPs are moved to review. 1 EIP resurrected from stagnant. That's for the October, and in November so far there is only 1 proposal which has been added as a draft, that is EIP 4396 time aware base fee calculation. So that's on the EIP status reporting. I have one question for Alita. I wanted to check what happens to move to stagnant pull request that is created by bot. And if someone respond to that pull request, when is the next time that is reviewed or considered? Will it be open for next 6 months?
So the only way to like get, yeah, I mean, the only way to like prevent the bot from reopening a pull request against it is to actually push a change to a file. Either that or you have a pull request open against that file. That's, yeah, if you just leave a comment on the pull request, nothing will happen.
Yeah, so my question here is like, suppose bot created a pull request to move an EIP to stagnant and someone responded to that. So just as a response to that response, bot may not move it to stagnant. The question here is when it will be reviewed next, after the 6 months?
Well, no, I guess what I'm trying to say is if a person just, are you saying like they leave a comment on the pull request?
Right. I mean, it is nothing related to changing any status or something, just a simple comment.
Okay, so yeah, in that case, then it would just be merged. So like it wouldn't prevent the EIP from being marked as stagnant. I can add that feature, but that's not how it currently works.
All right. So there was this one specific case that I identified. It was for EIP 2070, which was marked for stagnant. And it was my simple comment that it should be like moved to withdrawn. I found that that hasn't been merged as a stagnant. So I was wondering like what would be the next review period, or would it simply be merged because there is nothing from the author's side?
I think I saw your comment. It's going to be merged. So the pull requests are open for 2 weeks and then they're merged, unless a change is made to the file and or a pull request is opened. Notably, right now, actually, that feature doesn't really work because it checks to merge opened PRs for 2 weeks. Let's actually just go back. I don't want to overcomplicate this. So to answer your question, it's going to be merged in a week to move it to stagnant, unless the PR is opened or unless a change is made to that file.
All right. So I see here this this pull request was opened about 18 days ago, and there was just this one comment. So if I understand that correctly, if there is any comment but no new pull request, the bot will merge it as a stagnant.
So I think maybe this is a bit of a false positive. I would suspect that first off, I think maybe create an issue in the ETH bot repo about this specific pull request that you're talking about, and then I can investigate what's going on with it. The behavior that you're describing is not something that's intended.
I believe the issue is somehow it added the wrong label.
Okay.
I should have had the stale label, and it instead added big number. So it looks like just a bug. And there's currently 3 issues in there with that weird label. So I think some bug needs to be fixed.
The large number is the bot ID. So
I was supposed to tag them with that number?
Intended. Well, and that's like the idea is that the bot, the pull request, and then it labels it with that to make sure that, you know, it's easy and it's guaranteed that any pull request with that label has is from the bot. Anyway, I can look into it and try to figure out what's going on. But so I think the best thing to do here is just create a issue in each bot, and I can take it from there.
Sounds good. I'll create an issue there. All right, moving on. The last item listed here is review actions from the previous meetings, and first one is plan a PEEP and EIPIP session with Sam Wilson. We did it yesterday. I will probably release the recording next Monday. Update EIP1 to mark stagnant as another terminal state. I'm not sure if this has been addressed. I did not make any pull request on my end. Might have to check if anyone else did. If not, then I will try to create the pull request this week for it. Run a bot for issues in EIP GitHub. I have seen the bot activated. That's correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. So the course of action is very much similar to the pull request, right? It will first mark it for stale and then eventually close, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. The last action item listed here is update PR to update the list of EIP authors in EIP1. So we have made some changes. We have added the emeritus EIP editors there, but it looks like from today's discussion that this list might need to be updated further. So maybe we can revisit the EIP list after a couple of weeks and see if we need to make further changes to it. Well, that's all from the agenda item, I suppose.
So you left off my last one. I'm guessing because you assumed I wasn't being serious. But I actually would like to just share with everybody and the 2 people who actually watched the recordings of this call why I am such a dick about EIPs. Because I know I am. Like I know what my actions look like from the outside. And I've explained this to people many times in EIPs, but the message doesn't seem to be getting out there. So the gist of it is that currently I give people a hard time and tell them, hey, this is the process, follow the process. You know, we have these rules and I don't like the rules, but I stick to the rules no matter who they are. And I frequently get people frustrated, I think, because they are people of notoriety within the Ethereum community, and they are obviously not bad actors. They're not trolls. Like, they're not the people we're supposed to be protecting Ethereum EIP process from. And so they feel like it would be reasonable, and this is reasonable, to just let them, you know, put their stuff in there, whatever that is, be it external links, be it extra sections in the EIP, be it skipping certain steps in the process. Like, all these things are things people request of me as an editor. And the reason I say no to all of them is twofold. One, it's because we are very understaffed right now, and the processes we have in place are largely there because they're incredibly simple to implement. These processes are like no external links. That's really easy to implement. If I see an external link, I just say no. Like, it takes me 2 seconds. However, if the process is, you know, external links that are likely to 404, or external links from people that haven't authored a bunch of EIPs before, now all of a sudden the process becomes much harder to implement. It's no longer simple for me to just say, no, I now have to look at who the author is, look at where the link goes, try to evaluate that link. And then on top of that, what this leads to is, and I actually do get this a lot, this is not just me making stuff up, when I approve a PR that allows a link through, and then I disapprove someone else, that person I disapproved will say, but you let so-and-so through. And now I need to have a very long discussion with the second person explaining why link A is okay, but link B is not okay, or why section from this guy's EIP is okay, but the section in their EIP is not okay. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm a dick on the EIPs, and why I just make everybody follow this silly bureaucratic process, because we are very understaffed, and the processes in place to make sure that the little staff we have can actually get things done. If people want the rules to change, the number one thing you can do is become an EIP editor or recommend some EIP editors. If we had more staff, we could make more wishy-washy decisions. We could have fuzzier rules. We could have time to explain to users why, you know, link A is good, but link B is bad. But at the moment, we don't have that. We have me and Matt and sometimes Alex. And so, so that's one of the reasons. The other reason is, and this is kind of tangent, sort of related, there are people who are notorious within the Ethereum ecosystem, you know, Vitalik being the obvious one, though I don't actually get this problem from him, but just as an example. And then there are people who are not, so who have never shown up. Maybe they created a new GitHub account anonymously, and so I have no idea who they are. And both of these people are submitting EIPs. And there's a desire for the people who are notorious to get their EIP pushed through a little quicker than everybody else. Like, they don't want to follow the process. They don't want to go through the steps. They're frustrated. They're just like, why can't you let this through? Like, you know who I am. I'm not, like, this isn't spam, obviously, etc. And for those people, the reason specifically I do not push them through, and in fact, I put them at the, like, whatever place in line they show up at, that's where they don't get special treatment. And the reason for that is, as I mentioned earlier, I really want everybody who is in positions within the Ethereum ecosystem to recognize how understaffed we are. Like, as I said before, if the people who are in positions that they can actually have a voice, they can, you know, tweet to people and people will actually hear it, they can solicit for assistance, I want those people to understand how painful it is for everybody else. Like, when you're that random dude off the internet who doesn't have, you know, friends in the right places, and it takes you 3 weeks or a month, or in my case, several years ago, like, I had an EIPs that sat for over a year waiting for an editor to review them. When you're those people, like, you don't know who to reach out to. You don't have a better system. And so I want the people who have a voice to recognize how painful this process is, and hopefully they can then use that voice they have to solicit additional assistance and additional help and get more people, like, working on this so everybody cannot suffer. I don't want to just be like, okay, I'm going to help so-and-so because they're important or they're special, and I'm going to ignore all these other people. So That is why Mike is a dick, the short version. I just want everybody to know it is not just because I derive pleasure from being a dick, though I do, but that is not the reason in this case.
Here, here. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but that's great.
That's right. And I would agree here. But you have been a hero here because many things that we have changed in the past. It's because you like climbed Hudson for some time, and people like you guys showed up and tried to make a decision, and then we, the cat herders, tried to document them formally and share it with the rest of the community that this is the process. There was always like a flow, but there was no defined line, what to follow, what not to follow, whom to reach. And now that cat herders are there, we have seen people reaching out to us on the cat herders Discord, where we send it to again to the EIP editors, and we try to help and suggest them what is the right process. So this would not be, I mean, we would not be at the place where we are right now if that's not because of you, Lightline and Hudson and other people who actually became rigid and helped us define this process. So thank you for all the work you have done here.
On that note, do we have any potential people interested in being editors?
I mean, I don't have enough time, but I'm happy to help out at some point.
Yeah.
I wonder,
That
yeah,
first thing is the one we need. We need people with time.
I wonder how we can like advertise this better. It seems maybe we need like a pin post on ETH Magicians or something, you know, saying like EIP editors needed. Because it seems like it's hard, because if you make it like too open of like a process, you probably get people who like don't add a lot of value and actually suck time away from like Micah and Matt, which is not great. So I'm not sure like what's the right place, and it feels like the people who are aware that there's editors lacking are basically the people in the ETH R&D Discord, and most of those people, most of the people, yeah, they have jobs, and they're also kind of, yeah, they've considered doing this and they've chosen not to, basically. So I'm not sure like what's the sweet spot. And yeah, there's a question about funding. I think we've had a bit of funding, and like if that's the main blocker, I'm sure we can get the funding. The part that's hard is it's kind of a very part-time thing. So it's not sure like what's the best model to fund this, but maybe we can tailor that to whoever the person is. Yeah.
So just to provide some update here, this EIP editors internship meeting that we do bi-weekly, we have one resource. He is from Cat Herders, of course, and he's under training, and it seems to be like, I have seen William and Lightline kind of nudging him and training him, and maybe we can have him on formal editing, but right now he's in like very early stages of it. So he's trying to understand how the process work and what would be, the right place or the right context to add comments, which can add value in at least drafting the proposal. So yeah, I think adding it as a pin message to Fellowship of Ethereum Magician would definitely be helpful. But if you would like to send people, please do send it to like this small group who is trying to train people. I mean, like we have a couple of resources we are trying to train. That would be helpful. And Matt is there. He shares all the valuable information.
Yeah. Does anyone want to write a draft for the EIP editor? I can do it if you all are too busy, but I can maybe try and draft something that we can post. Yeah.
For the requirement?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I have shared this post that was shared on the Cat Herders Medium a while ago. So we just had a few lists here. Let me reshare it. I don't know. So it was general guideline when we first shared, yeah, how if someone is interested to become an EIP editor, reach out to us. And we did get a couple of responses, and we have picked up on a user from there. So if this is helpful, or if you would like to add something more.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Yeah, I'll have a look at it, and I guess I'll take some time tomorrow to try and figure out what's the best place to post this. Like, how do we go about getting this visibility? And yeah, maybe just like modifying this a bit. Yeah,
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think, yeah, that's all from the items and comments listed today. Anyone wants to bring up anything new? So to the question of the possibility of funding, yes, CAT heard us working with different grants. Last time it was supported by ESP, and this time we are trying to reach out to Malak and some other fundings. If we have people, we would be definitely working on.
Did Pooh just go quiet for everybody else?
Yep.
I thought I saw Tim unmuting, so I thought he's trying to add something, because last time he was helping out with this process. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So funding should not be an issue, as Tim mentioned, that if someone is interested and he is willing to be a part-time editor, please reach out to us. I'll be happy to talk to them and lead through the process. What we have currently, we are trying to help out with whatever works to get more people on board. Reach us on Ethereum Cat Herders, and my DM is also open on Cat Herders Discord. So that's all from the items listed here. And yeah, if nothing else, we are almost on time. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hope to see you all in next 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Bye. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
See you.